but it's not their responsibility to understand the value of what you're selling. It's your responsibility to develop that value proposition, and know how to explain it off the bat, maybe even on your website, if not on a sales call. So web design, as we probably know, is a super commoditized product, and especially with recent developments with generative AI, we'll see pricing pressures and we'll see more competition, and margins should shrink. But I'm always at the belief that if in every industry, despite the pressures, there are winners and losers. And we'll just talk about how to carve a niche and stand out from the crowd. And it gives you smoother service delivery since you become an expert in that niche. Once you become the expert, you charge more, people come to you automatically. And this is a big reason to choose a niche. The more specific you are, obviously, the better. People are afraid to lose potential clients as they get too niched in. But the truth is, you don't need to corner the entire market, because you can't service the entire market. Avoid complex projects. Startup agencies, or even if you're not a startup, you're a veteran in SEO, SEM, but you just started with web dev, startup agencies will say yes to everything. Like, every dollar is a good dollar for a beginner, and that's understandable. They sell the dream, and then they have to fulfill the nightmare. And this is where agencies start stretching themselves thin, and they overpromise and they underdeliver. We need to build a really tight product. And this is the productized part, right? Where if the client does not fit the bill, just say no.
Thank you to everybody that's here today. Itamar, thank you so much for being here and sharing value with these folks, so they can do a better job with the web dev projects they are quoting, and how to ensure that they get them completed in a timely manner. So I'm going to give the floor to you. I'm going to go ahead and highlight you. Let me actually spotlight you for everybody.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. Good to be here. I'm actually right now in Manila, Philippines. Believe it or not, it's 5:07 a.m. here. And yeah, like Mike said, we met around 5 years ago. With you on, competition, or the fact that there's enough for everybody, and if we collaborate. And you did actually refer some Australian clients our way back in the day. So yeah, maybe without further ado, let me share my screen. Oh, good. Okay, hi everybody. So like Mike already introduced me, I'm Itamar, born and raised in Israel, but moved to the Philippines 17 years ago. This is a totally different topic, but I've been living here since. And I started a company called SEO Reseller over a decade ago. So I'm very familiar with the white label space, and I sold it to a private equity for a sizable amount a couple of years ago. And I just want to tell you, if I can do it, anyone can. And I met Michael in 2020. We really hit it off, and we planned to do something for a long time. And this was a chance to get together and share some value. I don't know the different participants and your levels of engagement with web design development. So I hope this adds value to all of you. So we're gonna go through this presentation, and I think doing a Q&A and just sharing knowledge will be the best part of the presentation. So a disclaimer, I didn't do a presentation for a long time, since my merry SEO reseller days, so just bear with me. And if you're selling, or you decided to sell web design, we'll start with how to fine tune your offering. I know a lot of the times we're talking about offerings and positioning. I think in web design, it's also super important. We shouldn't underestimate positioning in web design. And that'll help you be more streamlined, deliver higher margins, and hopefully lead to retainer clients. And that's what we'll end with. So web design, as we probably know, is a super commoditized product. And especially with recent developments with generative AI, we'll see pricing pressures and we'll see more competition, and margins should shrink. But I'm always at the belief that if in every industry, despite of pressures, there are winners and losers. And we'll just talk about how to carve a niche and stand out from the crowd. Okay. Then the hardest part of this service, and I think this is kind of the title alludes to that, making a plan, sticking to it. This is where a lot of projects go south and sometimes make the agency regret they ever chose to take on web development. And I know I've been there, but there's a way to do it, and there's a way to do it right. Yeah, and the last bit, how to reduce friction, how to keep profitability high, smoothen the processes, work on quality over rework, and upsell opportunities. So before we start, I do have a folder with resources to get you started. It's not going to be one of those cheesy, give me your email and download those. It's just, I'm going to share a folder with you. You go and download. If you have some of those things, great. If you don't, I'm happy. So the backstory is that the company that rolled SE Reseller up didn't want the web development team. So I have a choice of either letting them go or spin it off to a new brand. I went with the new brand option, and it's called webmastered.com. And we're a white label WordPress agency. We work with SEO, SEM agencies mainly that care for site speed and quality builds to tick that box on the technical SEO aspect of their service. And we offer cost-effective, quick turnaround WordPress sites, either from our own pre-made templates or custom builds in case of a complex build. There are a bunch of documents relevant to this talk, and they're all in this folder. You'll get it later. Okay, let's dive straight in. So how many times did you get a client sending you a contact asking you how much for SEO? And you roll your eyes and you say, no way that they'll buy my service. And they don't understand the value. But it's not their responsibility to understand the value of what you're selling. It's your responsibility to develop that value, the value proposition, and know how to explain it off the bat, maybe even on your website, if not on a sales call. And I probably don't need to tell you, everybody's talking about it, especially in the reselling space, that you need to really find a niche and specialize in a niche, and that unlocks already a lot of value. And it helps you step away from being treated as an easily comparable commodity. But it doesn't end at choosing a niche. When you choose a niche and when you work on packaging, you're actually increasing your leads' chances of converting, increasing their willingness to pay. WTP, this is a big concept that's I'm a big fan of, willingness to pay, the client's willingness to pay. It's not always about the actual utility cost of what they're buying. It's the perceived value of what they're buying. And it gives you smoother service delivery since you become an expert in that niche. And that scope of work that you specialize, because certain niches have special plugins, special themes. Once you become the expert, you charge more, people come to you automatically. And this is a big reason to choose a niche. So what you want to be the obvious choice for someone very specific, as specific as you can get. This is your ICP. I'm sure you went over it in the mastermind or just saw the concept, the ideal customer profile. For example, you need car detailing and you own a Ford Mustang. That's awesome. Who would you respond better to? Just a car detailer, or a Ford car detailer, or a Ford performance car detailer? So the more specific you are, obviously, the better. People are afraid to lose potential clients as they get too niched in. But the truth is, you don't need to corner the entire market, because you can't service the entire market. Yeah, if you're lucky, you'll get to service 10 to 30 clients in the first year of a new line of business. And when you're laser focused, you convert much better from when you try to be everything for everyone. Then after you gain the proficiency, you can create your case studies, you can get your testimonials, then you can expand your scope, but not too early. I saw Alex Hormozi, I'm sure a lot of you know him, and he says, like, for a line of business, get to $1 million and then expand the scope, then go to the next thing. That could be for a niche that you're in, that could be for a service, jumping from SEO to SEM to social media. But like, have a line in the sand where you say, I'm going to do that laser focused niche, convert easily because I'm so laser focused, and then start building it from there. Like, be patient about it. So, for example, we have a client that's killing it with pressure washing. That's all they do. I'm very proud of it, very comfortable with that. And they're happy with their clientele. We have another agency doing only painters and other cool stuff. a very, very specialized agency that we work with do lots, anything related to lots, like from real estate to cemeteries. They specialize in implementing a very specific WordPress plugin that allows to map and search through hundreds of lots on a map. So that's pretty cool. So once you carve that niche, don't be afraid to be too hyper focused, because you're such a match for specific clients that it's easier for them to choose you and pay you versus the competition. Talking about ICPs, I also have, I'll give you the example of an agency that didn't go the route of choosing an industry as their ideal customer profile. Instead, they chose to service low digital maturity clients, like old school businesses with old school marketing heads that need a lot of handholding. So you have the chance to not only productize the technical aspect of your service, but also your approach and the process to match your ideal customer preference and pace. So people think the niching is just about, selling the niche, but sometimes it's really about how you invest in how you service that type of clients. The more you're able to service that type of clients to their pace and needs, the higher the willingness to pay and the easier it is to convert. And examples just to see how it feels like when you are seeing an experienced lawyer, an immigration lawyer, or if you want a visas for tech founders, we do case writing and evidence strategy. If that's my case, if I'm hyper focused on getting an EB1A visa, I'll definitely approach you guys. This is a formula. This is one formula. You can screenshot it, you can copy, but when you start working on ICP and value proposition, this is the way to crystallize it. This is the way when it lands on someone's ear, it just makes sense. And then you start breaking away. Of course, it's not as simple and as easy, but this is when you start breaking away from being a commodity. And Warren Buffett said, price is what you pay and value is what you get. Or I like it, it's like value is what people buy. The higher the perceived value of your brand, the higher the willingness to pay. And the three generic value propositions are to be either the fastest or the cheapest or the best. And usually when you don't put efforts into figuring out what value you're adding and to who, you choose the lowest common denominator. And I hope you guys are not there, but people are trying to be attractive by being cheap, by being the cheapest, by being affordable. And that's a very, very, it's a losing game. The higher your gross margins, the more oxygen your business is getting, the happier you are as an agency owner. And you have to start by selling the result. So you're not selling the product, you're selling the result, then you're selling the plan, how to get there, show that you have the plan, and then only the price comes. And people like to start with a price, but if you can find a way to sell, to talk about the result, because you have the context, you have the outcome, and you know your audience, then you can talk about the price later. Another thing about web projects, avoid complex projects. Startup agencies, or even if you're not a startup, you're a veteran in SEO, SEM, but you just started with web dev, startup agencies will say yes to everything. Like every dollar is a good dollar for a beginner, and that's understandable. They sell the dream, and then they have to fulfill the nightmare. Actually, that's a reseller of mine told me that like 10 years ago. We sell the dream and you fulfill the nightmare. I don't know if Mike could relate, but yeah, as a backend provider, we have to deal with what you sell, and we have to make sure it's good and it's satisfying. And this is where agencies start stretching themselves thin, and they overpromise and they underdeliver. We need to build a really tight product. And this is the productized part, right? Where if the client does not fit the bill, just say no. And it's hard, but you need to learn to say no. Not all clients' dollars are born equal. Not every dollar is a good dollar. Some clients will just suck your energy dry, and some dollars you wish you could have returned, and just forget about that client. So know your scope. That's what I'm saying. So either you build something really, really specifically deliverable and resell it, or you outsource it to someone else that will take on the headache. We have agency partners that we built 3 types of templates, and that's all they sell. So it's super simple, right? If it's within the scope, yes. If it's not within the scope, no thank you, or refer. And if you can't say no, go and practice in the mirror, because at the end of the day, when you learn to say no to leads or to clients, even to existing clients, it's a great feeling, because you have in the back of your mind, you know you save yourself a lot of headache. So know your scope, avoid a complex project. So summary for the first part, just don't be everything for everyone. Find a niche and improve your value proposition as you learn and explore that niche. Find ways to increase willingness to pay. I've seen agencies sell the same WordPress sites for 20x what they pay us, and their clients love them, still love them. Stay away from complexity. Learn to say no. If you're having a hard time saying no, yeah, practice in front of the mirror. So far, so good. I hope that was clear. That's actually is my favorite part, but also one of the hardest things to do with starting a business or doing a line of business, because we want to rush into it. Or sometimes it's because someone offered us to build their website or run their campaign, and now we were the niche was chosen for us, or the line of business was chosen for us, and we didn't give it enough thought. This is an important part to sharpen the axe before you go and chop the tree. Okay, so this is the stickiest part in web design business, and this is why maybe a lot of you are not in it. It's just the delivery of it. How do you agree on what needs to be done and end up with the least amount of leakage? You leak profit when you don't have a clear end game, and this is very important. Listen carefully. An end game can be decided only before you start playing the game. If you started your project with loose definitions, it will become a tug of war with clients. So really, an end game can be decided only before you start the game. It's like in sports, you can't start a game and then change the rules. Nobody will agree to that. Clients won't agree to that. This is why contracts, statement of work are super important. Our folders will have those as well. And you'll be surprised at how creative a client's imagination can be once you started to work on a loosely defined project. They might expect you to write the content, even if it wasn't discussed, because in their mind, the website comes with words in it. I saw a client once that was a funny, sad one. I saw a client once getting seriously mad at the Latin content on their new website. And they were referring to the lorem ipsums. I'm sure you've seen lorem ipsums, right? It's just meant to be a placeholder. The client was supposed to deliver the content themselves. It was not agreed with the agency, and the client was furious. Why writing Latin on my website? So it's so important because they can get really, really creative at thinking what they deserve. So you need to have a structured approach to agree and get a sign off on anything that the client will be receiving. It should be as itemized as possible and include it in a contract. And always, always sign a contract, even if it's someone you know that says, can you just build me a 5-page, 10-page website? Important to sign a contract. I included a couple of contracts examples and a quote maker with an itemized list in the folder. I'll share with you the folder. That's the last slide. It'll be a URL and you'll get access to the folder because it's a Google Drive. It's a complex URL. So just be sure to reiterate and to add to the contract what the build includes and what it does not include. Also, it does not include. It's fair game to include what it does not include. Things to pay attention to. Are you writing the content or should they provide it? Are you doing content migration from old site to new site? Those things sometimes take hours. How many licensed images should be included or should they provide all imagery? Will you be responsible to any DNS, hosting, email, server changes? Sometimes they're expecting that. And are they expecting any specific special functionality like CRM integrations, like a branch locator, shipping calculator, like the list goes on and on. So it's really what we won't do. Sometimes the hint is like, look at their current website, look at the competitor website, because they often look at the competitor website. Part of an intake is asking to see pegs for what they like. So just make sure to tell them this includes, or this does not include, or this is the extra charge for what you might need. Contracts are like memory. They can be your best friend in a time of need, or they can backfire big time. So you have to make sure you have a tight contract and you go over it with your client. And it's not in the clauses as much as it's the linkage to the statement of work, the itemized statement of work. If it's not in the contract, it's additional work. Sometimes people are afraid to charge a few thousands of dollars for a website and say, well, I need to charge you more. But if you have your contract as a referee, it's very easy. If the expectations were set ahead of time, it's very easy to do so. So if it's not in the contract, it's additional work. Just set the expectation early on. You'll save you a lot of headache. And don't forget that clients have responsibilities as well. agree on the timelines. Feel free to offer mechanisms like auto-approval. One of my favorite one, 10 years ago, the first one we applied auto-approval to certain SEO products, we just unblocked such a backlog. So it means if the client does not respond within X days, you take it as they agree to move on with whatever you're working on, like the design, is the color, is the layout. And we might look at it as insubordination. The client needs to give us a yes on every step of the way. But if you do the mental math of doing rework in case the client didn't agree, I don't mind losing a few hours of rework due to auto-approval rules. It moves the builds faster. And if this is the math, if 1 out of 10 clients didn't agree with the auto-approval, we'll shoulder the rework. Because with the other 9 clients, it just gets us closer to the money sooner. So it's a rule of thumb. Not everybody would agree to it. If you set the expectations ahead of time, it helps you unblock 9 out of 10 projects. Clients would usually be, yeah, sure, I was just busy. Thanks for pushing it forward. Auto-approval rules. Yeah, so hopefully you manage to sell a tight project and you're on your way to finish it. One of the hardest things in web design is collection. Generally, collection is not an easy thing unless you got the credit card, but there's a tension between you wanting to say we're done and the client, and that's understandable. The client fearing that if they paid you, they don't have leverage on you anymore in case something is off. You know, it just makes sense. It's a web build is something you do as a client once in a few years. You don't want the agency saying we're done, we're not touching it, we're perfect. Well, you don't think it's perfect. So an amicable solution is to offer some risk reducing mechanism, either by a guarantee, like we'll fix any issue within the first 90 days for free, and it's embedded in the contract. Or a billing structure where the client leaves a small fraction of the payment, a retainer for a later date. You decide about the payment milestones. There are various ways to do it. It could be bulk upfront, second payment before pushing live, and last payment 30 days after the live date. So the client will have 30 days to review and come back to you with any issues because they're usually busy. And they're also not experts. Sometimes they outsource it to a younger member of the family or to the wife, and it takes time. The lazy option is 50-50. Let's just collect 50 upfront, 50 when it's done. But then you should expect a cash flow issue because client might delay that last payment. It's a big payment. It's 50% of the payment until they are certain that there are no bugs, no quirks that they might have missed. They see the 50% as an insurance policy that you won't disappear post-launch. And there's a way to circumvent it. My favorite is 40-40-20. 40 is paid up front. The other 40 comes before or after going live. And the last 20, 30 days after the site's been live and they have the chance to comment. And the knee-jerk reaction is to think, oh, I'd rather have 50% off the bat and not 40%. But when you do the average of who you collect the last 50% of who you might collect 50% from versus 40%, you meet the 80% of your revenue earlier than 100% of it in both cases. So if you went for 50-50, you'll meet 50% of the money much later on versus meeting 80 early on while waiting for the 20 retainer, good for cash flow. And of course, you're giving your client a peace of mind, which is a great thing. All of them need that. Don't surrender website access until at least 80% of the payment is done though. All right, so to conclude this part, define what done means before you begin. It's too late once you begun. And contracts are like memory, and they're a referee when you most need them. Choose the billing method that suits you and prioritize speed of cash flow. It's super important for beginning agencies. Last but not least, we're talking about the fact that QA is cheaper than rework and how to streamline and give a good experience. And if you're building in-house, you should invest in a QA process. It saves frustrations, back and forth, and it's generally cheaper than rework. Since rework includes account management time, developer time doing additional QA, and just client frustration, and that's a hidden cost, and of course, loss of trust. So I've included a QA sheet with a few types of checklists that you can get the gist of how we do it. And some of them are like 20 items long, and some of them are 50 items long. But even with the best QA, some things are subjective, and you need to know who's the point of contact on the other side. If you've already done web design projects, sometimes there's an owner, there's an account manager, there's two owners, there's a wife and a husband. You have to agree. You can do a RASI metrics if you're familiar with who's responsible, who's accountable, who's communicated about changes, who's informed. You can make it simpler. At the end of the day, the one thing we're trying to get to is who's the point person that allows to give feedback and rejections. When there are too many cooks in the kitchen, it just builds get lost. So important one point of contact. It's also important to include development freezes. Say there's no more development right now because we're doing an iteration, because we're about to push live. Sometimes they have just one change, just add this word, just add that thing, and that just gets everything to spiral if we allow them to do that. It sounds like a little change, but when they're allowed to do that, they'll start plugging more and more. Anything beyond what we agreed is considered additional work. Again, this is a chance to go back to the contract, to the statement of work, and all of a sudden they wake up and they check competitor websites and they want this and they want that. Additional work, we do it after the freeze. We do it after it's live, or we do it after the staging link is live. If you control the build, you got yourself a happy client. And now it's time to upsell. This is my favorite part, turn it into MRR. Build an offer that stacks up, give special prices that they can only avail after a site goes live. It can be as simple as $100 web maintenance package or a full-blown digital marketing campaign. I recommend starting with the web maintenance as a built-in part of the proposal. I've seen agencies that build up a solid book of business just for maintenance. They're usually more specialized and charge a bit more per client. For example, it can include backups, plugins, theme updates, and those things are being done automatically now. If you're in a good host, all those things are being done automatically. You pay a few dollars for it, but you charge a markup for it. Yeah. And 2 hours of content updates. Clients always think, okay, you built my website. What happens if I need a change here and there? And part of your web maintenance is like, I'll give you up to 2 hours of content updates per month, and you can charge $200. Most of the clients will stop bothering you with updates a couple of months. So that's kind of like, you'll call it breakage or slippage. They just pay you, they're ecstatic to change this and change that, add an event, add the discount, and then it just becomes MRR that you don't have to think about 2 months, and that lasts usually for a few years. And this is where you reach the pinnacle of MRR. A lot of agencies just shy away from the web builds because they think it's one-off. But I'm a big fan of web projects because they position you as a turnkey provider, first of all. Because if you send them to another provider that does web projects, and the fear is always that the provider will also offer them what you offer them, the SEO, the SEM, the CRO, the content marketing. You want to keep them close to your chest. And also being able to control the build is good for stubborn SEO campaigns. Just need a technical refresh of the underlying website to get it right. And this is another big added value. So to summarize, if you specialize and tailor your offering to your client's desired outcomes, you sell the right expectations and deliver according to plan. There is a written plan. The door is open to stack the next parts of your offerings. And as promised, you can find the link to our contract samples, QA sheet, client intake samples, quote creator in this link. It's internal documents. It's not perfect. It's not designed. It's just what we work with and what we share with our agency partners. Just scroll to the bottom of the page and you can find the link. It won't ask you for email or anything cheesy like that. Just take it, grow your agency. And if you need any help, we're here to help. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to meet you all. Hopefully you'll have a great questions after this. I will stop the sharing in a few seconds. Just if you didn't copy the link yet, it's webmaster.com/offer/that-company. All right.
And for everybody here, I've thrown it into the chat for you for ease of clicking. You'll find at the bottom of that page, that's where the link is for the folder access. So just so you know, when you get here, yes, there's this form. He didn't lie though. He didn't say, oh, you have to give him the info. It's right here. That gets you that folder.
Yeah.
So you guys are aware.
It's just exactly if you wanna contact us, feel free.
Yes.
I'm all for delivering as much value. If you need something, nobody's pushing you. Nobody's going to chase you on emails to sell you something. It's like, we're good. Yeah. So
what questions do we have? Anybody have any specific web delivery issues that they've experienced in the past that, you know, I don't feel like we fully addressed what happens in a prior web build you may have done. How would you, you know, this is the person to ask to ensure that you don't have that problem in the future. And if you've done any kind of web dev, I promise you've had problems. So there should be plenty of questions.
Yeah, if anybody wants to share a horror story, because there's tons of those. I know that
Oh,
people shy away from the web design, but
we've got them. We've got them.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
We walked away from web dev years ago as a result of them, and just decided to become SEO, PPC, social oriented, which is good because now we get to bring a provider like you to the table and, you know, introduce you to our partners and, you know, and I think you'll bring a lot of value to them. So let's see, Jennifer, you got your hand up first.
Hi there. Thank you for that information. It was it covered a lot of information, which was really helpful. A couple of different things that I have a question on. Your offer is incredible. Thank you. It's actually where I almost don't want to build anymore because it's just easier to give it to someone like you guys. Do you only build in WordPress?
so the guys can do Shopify. Going back to
Shopify too.
my advice, yeah, on scope, we can do other things. We want to specialize and be known for WordPress because that's the easier. And I think sometimes the nightmare starts when you say yes. You know, you come to me with Framer or Ghost or all sorts of CMSs, and we'll want $1, and we'll say yes because we think, oh, we're developers. We should be able to do it. But just to your question, we can do Shopify, we can do Webflow. Our expertise is in WordPress. If it's not a complex project, we could say yes to it. What do you build on?
Well, because my question comes from because I'm really on the Go High Level platform, so I build solely there
right.
so that I can get them into the CRM. And so I really moved away from WordPress. I put my hand in it, and I had my website built there originally, and I couldn't even alter my own website. So I found a different platform that I could go in and learn and was much more user friendly. So so that's the kind of the first question is that was if you guys could develop something in that so that my clients could, you know, so I could bring clients to you even rather than having to build it. Um, right now I'm dealing with a therapist that I just built out a website, and kind of the same, like I decided to help her to build it out. She's so thrilled with my site, but now we're looking at adding on services. So I'm trying to now get her into the CRM and getting her into the AI services. And she actually, it worked out perfect. I went in this morning and her assistant had called in sick and she had nobody to send the confirmation text messages to confirm all her clients for today. And I was like, we have a system for that. She's like, I know you do. We need to talk. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, I just noticed that you hadn't recommended any sort of AI services. But is that another pathway that you think that an agency can grow through?
So the question is about go high level or?
Partially with, yeah, because that's, like I said, that's why I'm kind of on that platform, so that one, I can do the CRM for the automations, for the emails for clients, and then now being able to tie them into AI. So that's kind of the spin that my agency has taken, is building websites to get my foot in the door, and then building out email sequences or text messages or whatever, you know, whatever a client needs to build out their follow-up system.
Yeah, no, you stacking an offer, right? You're building the website first and then stacking an offer. And I know Go High Level, I didn't dive thoroughly into it, but I know it's just growing and it's exploding. And I think, yeah, just being able to have the web build, as I said, as the foot in the door, then stack up the offerings. And it's rare in our lifetime that we get to see a wave of innovation or technology that takes over. And it happened when the internet came, then when the email came, and now with AI or generative AI, you just say, "Oh, AI, I'll implement AI," and everybody, our ears all wide open. So I don't want to say use it as a buzzword or as a fad, but yeah, find a solution. If go high level works for you, it's a great upsell. But you touched on a point where the pain point, her pain point, your assistant, your secretary is out for the day. Now you're stuck. You're losing revenue. You're losing clients. You're losing bookings. You're frustrating your patients. This is where we start with building that value proposition. Stop, losing patients, or stop having slow turnaround in scheduling, or back your calendar. is how I would, and that's the first part of the conversation, how I would stack up my value proposition. Therapists with Go High Level with AI. It sounds like a good gig there.
Okay. Awesome.
Hope this helps. That's just my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we got Dominique next.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Just checking. So I came in a little later, so forgive me if this was already answered, but in the case where you're mid phase in the build of the project, and let's say it's going a little too long because you have a client that's very, very busy and they can't give you the feedback you need in time. Did you make a suggestion or suggestions around that? Or if you haven't, what are your suggestions for that? Do you suggest charging a fee? I know that some colleagues charge fees, but just curious to know what your suggestions are when that does happen and after, multiple times requesting the feedback you need.
Yeah, it does happen. I think it's one of the things that happen most, because at the end of the day, most of us are dealing with SMEs and they are busy. They get excited over a new website and they get all turned on, and then life happens, business happens, and they totally put it aside. We did cover auto approvals. Now it depends on what you need from the client. So auto approvals are a way to take kind of ownership over, I'm going to move forward. I know that you might not agree with some things, and we're playing the rule of big games, big numbers, the game of big numbers here. 1 out of 10 will say, no, why did you proceed without me giving an approval or giving you feedback? And then you'll just take the rework hours and you'll have some profit leakage there. But if 9 other clients appreciated the fact, and we are also business owners, and when we have vendors that are proactive, we often appreciate that. From my experience, 9 out of 10 will say, cool, that's great. Thanks for moving forward. I'm so busy, I didn't have the time for that. The one, unhappy client just say, we are auto approving, but if there's a need, we'll rework. You might be afraid because you think I'll do so much rework, but really most of them just need the work pushing through. So I'll do auto approvals, but that cannot be happening mid-project. That expectation needs to be set. When you set the timeline, you can say, we do have an auto approval rule, and this is just to benefit the build and your business for you to get the website as soon as possible, because I know you can be busy. What we'll do is, if I don't hear from you for 2 days, 7 days, whatever you want, we will be moving forward. And if there's a case that you're unhappy with how we move forward, I'm willing to shoulder any rework just to give you peace of mind. So auto approvals is one way. Then there's the, people pay like parking fees. I think it comes from the days where servers were super expensive, and having hosting you on a server or was costly to me as an agency. I don't believe in those little penalties. I think it's tainting the relationship. It's just a personal belief when we don't like that. But it is a pain point, and more so as an agency, especially if you do a lot of web builds, in a way you have a liability on your balance sheet because you owe someone hours. They paid you, and a few clients not responding, it's dozens of hours sitting on your balance sheet that one day they could come and say, give me a refund. This is why it's also important in the contract to have kill clauses, like if you are not responsive, if you want to cancel, whatever it is, whatever you paid will not be refunded. So again, it's not a perfect scenario because a lot of the times they do get busy. But the auto approvals, the kill fee, and just persistently like following up could help. Will not, eradicate the issue. I will say, if you look at your operations and your type of clients, just look at where do you get stuck most often? Where do you get stuck most often? And try to troubleshoot that. Try to build a mechanism around that, or avoid those type of clients, or whatever it is, just to get to the money faster. Hope this helps. And if anybody has other, I'm not the be all end all for web dev. If anybody else has great ideas, feel free to share.
Yeah, and
Thanks, Dominique.
my other question is more for clarity, again, because I came in a little later. So that website build offer is is that for us if we wanted to take you up on that 10-page build? And then is it also that you're offering your company's services, your company's website build services to us? I just wanted to be clear.
Great question, because I didn't think about whether if you would like a website of your own. So yeah, let's say that yes, if your agency needs a revamp, you still don't have an agency website and you want it on WordPress, we can do that. The $199 that is usually $499 would be for your agency. I can share maybe some of our designs. I'll show the portfolio and you could see it on the website, but this is generally, can you see my screen?
Yes.
The designs we have, SMEs, home services. We do have some agency designs, and at the end of the day, you say, well, I don't want my agency to look like anybody else's. But once you change images, you change colors, you put your logo, it's different. We also build it a very productized way. So we have a lot of modules on each template, and there are links to the actual templates, and then we can mix and match, remove, change orders. So that happens on the get-go as we start. We do have agency sites. So yeah, it could be for your agency site, but this is definitely our bread and butter, SME websites, and we work as a white label provider. We work with you and you work with the client. We don't necessarily interface with the client unless it's a big agency with a lot of volume, because then we can dedicate a person, because there's a cost to it for us internally as well to do the back and forth with clients. So yeah, that's the offering, and it could be applied for for an agency website. So that's still like $199 for a brand new agency website. I say, guys, go for it. All day long. I think there was a question I saw in the chat about content. This is where I practice in front of the mirror to say no. We don't do content, because content is especially when you have the SEO in the background. Content could and should be done in a very specialized way. We want to specialize in web design and web builds. So we will not do the content. We can do content migration. And I think for content, I don't know if that company would do content. I think you can plug it in as part of the SEO or the on page. But it
would be part of our SEO services.
So we do the design and build, and then content would be courtesy of clients.
Excellent. Thank you. I was going to go there next.
It's frequently asked question.
All right.
Hi, yes, long-time listener, first-time caller. With the idea, have you heard of GenSpark before?
The generative AI tool, GenSpark.
Yes. So they do a lot of the same programming language that WordPress does. So if one of the clients has a GenSpark created website, would you be able to take that code and work with it?
So I was working with GenSpark mainly for creatives. I didn't check the web, like the back end, like what's the code. If it's you say similar to WordPress, by being similar to WordPress, it's either PHP, because WordPress is built on the PHP, or it uses a WordPress theme. Then the answer would be yes. But if it's something like a closed garden where it's hosted, and usually this is what those generative AI tools do, they want to keep it on the platform. They would not let you have the code, or they want you to host it there. We might not be able to, but we can check it out for you. I just never seen the GenSpark web builder. There's a lot of them, and this is what I'm saying. There's a lot of different tools out there nowadays. WordPress is not necessarily the weapon of choice of agencies anymore.
Yeah. So with GenSpark, what you end up doing is it'll create all the copy it out, and you can go host that code wherever you want to. It's the same. You essentially create the same copy paste code that you want, and you can go host it wherever you want. I know I just said the same thing.
So it really depends on what code, what language it's using. Again, I'm getting a couple of good points here. Like Go High Level is obviously one, and the GenSpark. I know Relium.ai does good quick mockups as well. there's tons of it's proliferation of generative AI tools. It's hard to follow. Wake up every morning to a new game changer. Exciting times. I've been in the agency space for over 20 years. It's really exciting times. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And is that something that I could email and find out more information on later?
Yeah. Let me also then share my email, my personal email on chat.
Because it says it's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which is the same.
So it's very simple.
Yeah.
The thing with that, yeah, because they have to make it simple, so it's kind of agnostic to, you can host it everywhere. I'd say it's good for like a basic website. Once the client tells you, hey, can you add a contact? Contact form is not a big deal, but any integration, any plugin, like shipping calculator, branch locator, there are tons of different, depends on the niche. This is where it's going to become a bit tricky. So it's good for like an MVP, a minimum viable product. But when it becomes a bit more robust, this is where it becomes tricky. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was the WordPress. So the GenSpark uses HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Python. But this is all AI overview at the very top. I can't guarantee that this information is correct.
Yeah, we can check it out. You can send me an example and we can check it out. But yeah, as it becomes a bit more complex, Python, yeah, it's a lot of those tools will use either Next.js or Python in the backend. And they'll build you something, it will work and it'll be there. But to start getting into the weeds of changing it, then it becomes, this is the complexity, and it's becoming more expensive than just WordPress, where anybody could go and change and update plugins and whatnot. Again, I'm not 100% selling or sold on WordPress, because WordPress became very cumbersome over the years, but it's still a very easy deployable stack for SMEs.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, Devin.
Thanks, Devin. All right, Gabriel.
So I have a question. You mostly answer all of my question already, but let's say how long does it normally takes the 10-page build for you guys?
To I think Dominique's question earlier, it's really depending on the collaboration with the client. And here we have a multifaceted, engagement. It's us and you and your client. If everything goes well, I'd say the very safe bet would be 2 weeks, but we can do it within the week, like 5 business days. And the agencies we work with, and we work with this in a streamlined way. We have a folder. They know exactly where they plug the images, where they plug the content, and they choose a template. And again, this is not templates like from ThemeForce. We build those templates on Elementor mainly, but we can do other builders. And we know exactly what they want. We know how to plug it in, so it can take less than a week. But it really depends on the collaboration with the client. Speed is something we're trying to be known for. Because we are like an offshore provider, we're not competing for everything. We can compete for price, we can compete for speed. It's not my favorite value propositions, by the way, but I'm acknowledging my location. So, yeah.
Got it. So depending on the project, it could take like from a week to 4 weeks, something like that, right?
Depending on the complexity. So the websites we're talking about, it's just a plumber, and it's a 5 to 10 page WordPress site. We have the images, or something more like a home renovation, and they have the before and after photos, because sometimes you ask them for that and oh yeah, let me get that, and then it becomes months worth of them forgetting about it, digging for it. We'll take photos. Can you take photos? Yeah, if it's not that, everything is provided. Yeah, it should be very clear.
Gabriel, my experience, it's the communication that's the hardest part. That's the longest. If they're on it and you have all the deliverables they need, they have the content, they have the images, they have everything, then it usually goes a lot smoother.
Yeah,
but
that was
also an intake questionnaire. Sorry to interrupt. An intake questionnaire we have on the folder, because you really need to get as much front loaded as possible. It also goes to the scope of what you take and what you don't take. If you take the same thing exactly same again and again, and you're known for it, it's easier to streamline versus saying yes to everything. I could say yes to go high level right now, and I will explore it because obviously it's a growing platform. But then I'll be bogging my team down. I'll be disappointing the agency. So narrowing the scope is super important, I'd say, and then things could fly and everybody's happy.
And you guys also do like plugin integrations. Now that will be an upsell, like the plugin integrations.
Yep, definitely. I mean, it could be part of the initial price. Upsell on this offer, it's a simple website, but definitely when it comes to plugins, we've dealt with all of them. So we've dealt with all sorts of SMEs, all sorts of businesses. We've dealt with a big franchise with hundreds of locations. We built it on Oxygen super fast through an agency, of course, their franchise agency. So yeah, we can definitely do that.
And Marty, I have a question. Let's say I get a prospect or someone that their website they need both like SEO and ads and the web development. Can you guys help me sell the web development or not really?
We'll talk about that offline. And for everybody else, the reason why he's asking is Gabriel is a strategic partner, so it's a little different. So yeah, Gabriel, you're a friend. We'll see if we can work something out. Okay.
Cool. All right, got it. Thank you, Itamar. That's about it.
Thanks, Gabriel.
Thanks, awesome. Thanks, Gabriel.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah,
one more hand. Yeah, thanks, man. Alicia, and then we'll get back to Dominique and her question that she's got. Go ahead, Alicia.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Itamar. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared so far. So my niche is the health and medical businesses, and I'm looking at your offer page, and I know you start off with, or I don't know if that's just the starting price, but it says $200 basically for a 10-pager.
Just for you guys, for now, yeah. The normal price is $499.
Got it. So what happens, just say, I work with you, as we white label a website, and for example, I've spoken to pharmacies or businesses that own medical equipment, right? And so those people in this niche tend to have more complex type websites. So I'm just curious, when you say, $200 for the 10-page, how much extra is it if more is needed to put a website together for example, a medical equipment company? Like,
so great question. So yeah, the more complex builds, and it's not just medical. There's a lot of, first of all, there's compliance. So I don't know if it's HIPAA or whatever it is, of compliance issues.
HIPAA, yeah, that's
yeah. So it can start with that, but a lot of companies would need an index of all their products, maybe the ability to order or to inquire for products. So that will go into WooCommerce. Yeah. So in WordPress, would use the WooCommerce platform, and we can definitely and we do that. For the $199, just to clarify, this is an offer for that company, Mastermind Group, limited time offer. And it's just to give you a kind of a reduced rate to fill the development team and the development process. Usually we charge $499. So you browse the templates, right? It's for those kind of websites. It's a brochure website. It looks good. It works well. It's fast. SEO-wise, super ready, and it has a contact form, landing pages, service pages, about us, homepage. That's the kind of the entry level, and it really depends on your niche. If you do more complex stuff, that would be a custom website. Custom websites would be probably, just to give ballparks, starting at 750 and start going up based on the complexity. And we do the whatever I was mentioning. We do the itemized list as well, so you can see what's being dished out, like how many pages, how many plugins, how many hours per plugin, per page. Yeah, it really depends on the complexity. So without seeing it, I wouldn't be able to tell. But yeah, the $199 is for the simple 10-pager brochure website.
Got it. Okay. Because with the examples that you show, I think the closest medical was like a therapist, massage therapist, and dentist, I think, right?
Yeah, the simple ones. Yeah. But by the way, those
okay.
could be extended. We could install WooCommerce on those. If you said, okay, I like the template, the template is just a drawing, which we already have built. So we could extend it if you say, well, they need to show products, or Or we need a more complex or more specific design, because I know pharmacies and healthcare providers or medical equipment would have a bit more, less of this very colory, have a bit of a drier design, understandably. So we can do that as well. Yeah, that will fall under custom build.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Alicia. All right. We have a couple more questions from Dominique. She seems to be on fire. We already answered the one about the site's mostly built in Elementor, but she's also asking about communications. Do you guys usually use Slack, Monday.com, Teams? I know you answered that you don't want direct communication with clients, but how do you do communicate
with the agency? Yeah, so obviously email, phone, we use Slack, and we work on teamwork.com. So if there's a need to, if the agency wants, what we won't do is work on your project management. Because sometimes clients will say, hey, can I onboard your project manager on my Teamwork, ClickUp, Monday.com? That offer comes. I see you're smiling, Marty. It sounds like something that's happening also. Because then you have to take a person that needs to understand all the project. If you say yes to one, you have to say it to everybody, and they have to have someone that needs to manage a lot of complexities. So we rather keep it in our project management system. Again, if it comes to scale, if someone has 10, 15 web builds a month, we could have a person dedicated to them. So they will work in there. And we had people working, our project managers working in someone else's platform. Revisions, it's usually 2 revisions. We are not nitpicky with the agency because, again, for us, it's not one web build. So it's, again, the rule of big numbers. If we're not going to be nitpicky on that one client that's very stubborn, but we know that the rest will be streamlined and we'll be able to. But it's 2 revisions per web build. Yeah,
it's a good number. That's what we used to use.
Yeah, it usually covers, if you're communicating well and setting expectations well, shouldn't be more than 2 revisions. Part of it is the fact that you have to clump together all the little nitty-gritties that the client might want, and you don't take it as a piecemeal. Can you change the font a day later? Can you change the word a day later? Can you, right?
Yeah. Checklists.
You have
checklists.
Of course, any system that you have, that we have, that we can merge together. Again, the first pancake is not always great, but as you work and understand the agency and understand how they work and how their clients are, because different agencies have different types of clients, it becomes more streamlined.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, Itamar, thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of information. Thank you so much for giving us an offer for our partners. I'm sure many of them are going to take advantage of it. You've also given out your email address. I was trying to keep that hidden from you, but I didn't know if you wanted to go ahead and let that out there.
That's fine.
We really appreciate your help.
Yeah,
and
adding value.
Looking forward to many collaborations together.
That would be great.
Hey, Itamar, I have a short story real quick before you leave. It was like before COVID, I think 2018, I used the SEO reseller to win a job offer with the design, with the web design quote and tools that you had and the portfolio.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
they were like, what the heck? They were like, oh my God, like how you did this?
Yeah, we had like a design. You could drag and drop a design and give the client a proposal with the design, and it was just a few clicks away with the price
it was
point.
Super professional, man.
It's not there anymore. The company that bought us migrated everything, so it's not there anymore. And I'd say just between us, it didn't have big usage. Like
No.
I'm a developer myself. I'm a programmer, so I get excited over building features. I heard someone calling it feature ISIS.
It's a
good condition
to propose. Yeah, it was a good tool to propose
proposals
to clients. Yeah. And it helped.
Well, I don't own that code anymore. I might need to rebuild it if I want to offer it for Webmaster. But yeah.
Yeah,
it was good times. I'm happy it worked for you.
Yeah, you can help us with that maybe, and then it will be easier for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. It's streamlining. Again, if you remember from the beginning, I sold SEO reseller. The company that bought it didn't want the web dev team. And I was like, okay, let's continue. Let's rebrand. And you guys are doing a good job. These are your jobs. Let's continue. But I'm not like building day in, day out. If I was, I would go high level, for example, and we're very good at what we do. That's the thing. It's the WordPress builds. But yeah, thanks for the anecdote. It's awesome always to hear that you added value and someone liked what you did. So
yeah, they were amazed. Like, wow, the other candidate, I just trust him.
yeah, thanks, man. Awesome to hear.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see a couple of you guys tomorrow.
Can you stay a minute?
Gabriel, I gotta run. I have soccer practice as well. So, but I'll reach out to you and we'll get that settled. Okay.
All right. Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye bye. Thank you.
Mark, thank you so much.